Hi, I'm Stephanie Jaworski of joyofbaking.com. Today we're going to make a pumpkin bread pudding. This dessert is very nice on its own with whipped cream or even ice cream, but today we're going to serve it with a toffee sauce, and I'm also going to show you how to do that. But first we'll make the bread pudding. So preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 180 degrees Celsius, and you will need an 8-inch by 2-inch, which is 20 centimeters by 5 centimeters square baking pan, and you will need about 5 cups, which is 1.2 liters of bread cubes, and I like to cut them in maybe about, bite-sized pieces, maybe 1 inch, 2.5 centimeters, and you can really use any type of bread you want. I'm using a Italian bread here. I left some of the crusts on. You can leave the crusts on, you can cut them off, whichever you want. And I like the bread to at least be a day old, because then I find it really absorbs the custard. Fresh bread doesn't tend to absorb it quite as much. Now, 5 cups is hard to measure with bread cubes. So what I do is I just take my pan and I just fill it with bread cubes like I've done here. And that way I know approximately. And I usually have a few extra bread cubes on the side just in case I need it. But that's kind of how I measure it rather than trying to do 5 cups. So now for the custard, in a large bowl, this is just a really easy custard to make. I have 2 large eggs, and I'm just going to whisk those to break them up. Now you could use a hand mixer if you want, but I just find it easy just to use a wire whisk. And then to that I'm going to add 3/4 of a cup, which is 170 grams of pure pumpkin puree. So if you're buying your pumpkin, if you're not going to make it yourself, if you're buying it in a can, buy the pumpkin that doesn't have any spices added to it, because we're going to add our own. And then, so just kind of whisk that in. And then I'm going to add, need a little sugar, a 1/2 cup, it's 105 grams of packed light brown sugar. And then we're going to add some spices. I'm adding a 1/2 teaspoon of ground cinnamon, 1/4 teaspoon of ground ginger, 1/8 teaspoon, just a pinch of ground cloves, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Now you can vary the amounts. If you want a little more cinnamon or ginger, or say you don't want cloves, you can just leave that out, whatever you like. And then I'm also adding just a 1/2 teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. And then also I'm adding 1/4 cup, that's 55 grams of butter that I have melted and then cooled to room temperature. And you can use either salted or unsalted butter here. And then we need some milk. So 1.5 cups, 360 milliliters. Now, depending on how rich you want your bread pudding to taste, your custard to taste, you can use just milk. You can use a combination of milk and, say, cream, light cream, heavy cream, 1/2 and 1/2. Really just mix it. I'm using about 1 cup of milk and a 1/2 cup of cream. I don't like my bread pudding too rich. So, and that's it. That's our custard. Pretty simple. So now I'm just going to take my bread cubes and just put them in here. And then we just want to get all the bread cubes covered with the custard. If your bread is quite a few days old, some people just like to let the bread cubes soak in the custard for 10 or 15 minutes before baking. So you could do that. But I'm finding that's pretty good. Now, if you had a lot of custard, you could, and you found it like a little too runny, you could add a little more bread cubes to this. But I'm happy with. Let's look in here. Yeah, the bread soaked up most of the custard, so that's good. So then just kind of press it down. As you can see, you can whip this up a few minutes. Doesn't take very long. Kind of a combination of bread pudding and pumpkin pie. So just kind of press it down like so. Okay, that's it. Oh, I forgot the pecans. What can I say? That's a half a cup, 55 grams of chopped pecans. You could use other kinds of nuts. You could use raisins or other dried fruits. So I'm just going to kind of mix it in here like that. No worries. So there we go. So now into the oven. I would say, everybody's oven, of course, is different. Usually about 25 minutes. But I would check. We don't want to overbake our custard because then it gets kind of rubbery. So I would check it at 20 minutes, but usually it's 25 until it's set, and then take a toothpick, insert it into the center, and it will come out clean. Okay, so our pumpkin bread pudding is now done. As you can see, if you kind of feel the top, nice, it's a little springiness to it. A toothpick inserted into the center will come out clean. So now what we're going to do is just let that cool, and while it's cooling, we'll make our toffee sauce. Now you could make this toffee sauce even the day before and just reheat it if you'd like. So in a saucepan, put 4 tablespoons, which is 55 grams of butter. You can use either salted or unsalted here. And then a half a cup, 105 grams of dark brown sugar. And then I'm using unsalted butter, so I'm just putting just a pinch, like 1/8 of a teaspoon. So if you use salted butter, then you don't need to put the salt. And then lastly, just 1/4 cup, 60 milliliters of heavy cream. It's a really easy sauce to make. And it's not only good on bread pudding, it's good on like ice cream. Okay, so now just put this over like medium heat, and we're just going to bring it to a boil. Okay, so now it's just come up to a boil. So just adjust the heat. You want it at just a gentle boil. And what I'm going to do is boil it somewhere between 2 and 3 minutes. You just want the sauce to thicken up a bit. Of course, the longer you boil it, the thicker it will become. So maybe 2 minutes. So, okay, that looks about good. Nice thickness. As you can see, I'm stirring it every once in a while as it cooks. So now we're going to add a little flavoring. Now you could add just 1/4 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Today I'm going to add a teaspoon of rum. You could add bourbon, would also be very nice in this. You can really smell that rum as it hits that hot toffee sauce. Yeah, just pour it in here so you can see it. Okay, so that's our toffee sauce. Like I said, you can make it, even the day before you're going to serve. So how do you serve this? Like I said, you could serve it plain, or if you really want to go all out with this dessert, which we will today, I'm just going to put some in here. That. then, as you know, I like whipped cream, so I'm going to put a little bit of whipped cream on there. And then I'm going to take the toffee sauce and just kind of drizzle it over the top. The sauce does thicken as it cools. And then we'll finish it up with some chopped pecans. Doesn't that look pretty? Almost too good to eat, but we will eat it today and give it a try. You know, that extra toffee sauce is so good. Oh, that is just so good. The toffee sauce just really makes it. And you got the soft breadcrumbs with that pumpkin flavor, and then the toffee, and then the whipped cream, extra pecans. Excellent. Like I said, this is really, the bread pudding's really good warm. So even if you have leftovers and put them in the fridge, the next day just pop the bread pudding into the microwave and just heat it up. Heat up your toffee sauce and enjoy. So until next time, I'm Stephanie Jaworski of joyofbaking.com.